Hello, and welcome to Homeschool Informational Services. I'm Annalisa. My fellow homeschool mom, Karen, and I started Homeschool Informational Services in 2012 to help homeschool families through their journey. You often have encountered a homeschooler, whether it's at church, at work, or in your everyday life. We're joined here today by Evelyn Mitchell, a homeschool graduate of 2024. And we want to find out more about her experience as a homeschooler. Welcome, Evelyn.
Hi.
So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get right into it. Why do you think that your parents started homeschooling?
Um, well, the story my mom always gave me was that her friend started homeschooling, and she was telling her about it, and she knew how much homework my siblings were doing, and she was like, "You're already homeschooling," and she talked to my dad about it, and they thought that was the best situation for my older siblings, and so that's why they started homeschooling. I think it's great. I love, you know, being homeschooled. It was
Good. So, tell us about the journey. Like, when did you start being homeschooled?
I was homeschooled since birth, basically. I've never been to any types of school. Um, yeah, that's when I started. That's when we started homeschooling. I've never known anything else. College has been my first school experience.
Okay. Good.
So,
Well, that's wonderful. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. Um, so you have an interesting dynamic because you have a twin brother. So some of the questions, and although we won't focus on him and we'll have an opportunity to interview him as well, but you have a different perspective than maybe some of our other homeschoolers in that you have a twin that is being homeschooled at the same time. So that may come up in our discussion. Um, did you enjoy it? You did say you enjoyed it a little bit, but do you want to elaborate, or was there times where you're like, why are we doing this?
I feel like I'm in a good, like, solid in the middle. I loved homeschooling in the sense that we never were on a schedule. Um, like we could always get up and travel if we wanted to. And that was always great. But and also in the other sense, I felt like maybe I was losing something because I didn't have that school experience, like things my friends would talk about. I'd be like, "Oh, I don't do that."
Mhm.
So in that sense, I think that it made me feel a little left out, but in the grand
Okay.
scheme of things, it definitely was the best thing for me now looking back on who I am now.
Okay. Good, because that kind of goes into my next question of like, what did you think you missed, like being homeschooled? And you talked a little bit about when your friends talked about things, you were like, you didn't really have an experience of that. Is there anything else you can think of that you felt like, oh, I really missed it, or I thought I really missed this?
I think the biggest thing for me was maybe like that social aspect. Because like in school, you grow up with friends and you have those close friends. And even though like being homeschooled, I still have close friends that I've known for a while, but I always felt like I was missing something because of that social aspect that I didn't like I was social, but it always felt like I was missing something. I couldn't tell you what I thought I was missing.
Okay. It was just the FOMO, right?
It was just a feeling that I had. I was like, I've got to be missing something because everybody's raving about this school thing. There's got to be something that I'm missing. Um, yeah, it was mostly like a social thing
Okay.
for me, and like with extracurriculars, but I never thought like education wise that I was missing anything.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your communities. What type of communities did you have during homeschooling?
Well, of course, I had my homeschool community, and my friends in my little homeschool co-op. And then I also had my church community with my church friends. And then also, going into high school, I had my work community. Um, So that was great. And then I also, I was in a little theater group, so I had those people. Yeah, so I had a couple different communities that were good and nurturing, I would say.
Okay. So it was clear, or it's clear that you definitely had socialization, because that was my next question.
Yes, that's one thing my mother was very adamant of us doing was being social, putting ourselves out there. My mom had us in so many different things. And so I never, like, though I felt like something was missing, I never didn't have friends. Um, and then also having Elliot, I always had someone to
So you
talk.
were never alone.
I was never alone. Between my mom and Elliot, and then going to all our different activities, I was never alone. Um, yeah, I had a pretty good community. Yeah.
So just going off of that a little bit, and we'll go, I'll get through this later in the interview. Um, you're at school, you're away at school, and you're away from your twin.
I
So
am.
because you always had him around you, what is that like?
I definitely miss his presence. It's so weird. Like I go to talk to him and it's like, oh, he's not there. Um, but I definitely think it's good that we have this space though, because when we're together, we depend on each other a lot.
Mm.
Um, and so okay, I'm not gonna speak for him. I depend on him.
Okay.
I'm not going to speak on him, but for me, I depend on him a lot. And so him not being here has really pushed me to get out of my comfort zone and really
Mm.
do things that I'm not necessarily used to doing by myself. Like even eating by myself, I never was okay with eating alone. I always had to have somebody with me. And now that I don't always readily have someone to eat with me, I'm like, okay, all right. But yeah, I think we really needed that space though, to be independent from each other because, you know,
Yeah.
whole
Okay. All right.
twin.
Well, I just asked because I'm like, ooh, people might be wondering. What community do you think you would have appreciated? So we talked a little bit about you thought you were missing out, but maybe you weren't really. But was there a specific community that you thought, oh, I really wish I would have been involved in that type of community?
Um, I think mostly now looking back, having different teachers. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Mm.
But having one person teaching you everything is it's like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
And so now I had that I have different teachers. I get different perspectives from different people. Um, and I get to learn so many new things. Not to say that my mom didn't have a lot to teach me, but she does. She teaches me things every day. But it's great to have people teaching me that aren't in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know, it's a different vibe. And I don't think I ever realized that that was something that I was missing until I came to
And
college.
so I know you were in a co-op. So in your co-op, you did you have some opportunities to have different instructors, or were there it just wasn't mainly like your mom teaching that class, was it?
So I was in a couple classes with my mom, because that's where I was the most comfortable. But
Oh.
I had a lot of classes with other people though. Um, but of course, like it's homeschool moms, and so
Mhm.
it's homeschool moms. And these are people that I've known since I was probably 3 years old. So it's,
Okay.
I mean, like, yes, they are instructors, but they're
Right.
more like family friends than,
Mm-hmm. So you were looking for just something different, thinking, I would like to have that experience.
yeah.
Okay. All right, good. That's very clear. Um, so do you remember, because it hasn't been that long ago, what curriculum did you use over the years? I'm sure it was several different types, but is there anything that stood out to you that you used?
Um, so in high school, we did Monarch. It was an online program. My mom didn't teach us. They had all the curriculum laid out, and we would go in and read the lesson and then do questions after the lesson. So that was in high school. I don't really remember what we used in middle school and elementary. I don't remember that.
Okay.
Because my mom was so hands-on that we never really
Mhm.
had to like think about curriculum. That was always something my mom would.
Right. It was done and you would do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So what I really remember is high school.
Okay.
Um, with Monarch, yes.
So, do you, along with that, because you were doing an online curriculum, did you have any outside classes or courses that supported that curriculum or that you just did in general during high school that you enjoyed?
So in high school, I took French outside of Monarch with another homeschool mom. So I took French and I took something else too, but I don't remember. But I do remember French. French was definitely a class outside of Monarch that I did. And then I also was working, and then we had a couple of classes within my job. So we had uh, a financial literacy class um, that helped us, and we also had SAT prep. And then we also did the essay writing to help me write my personal statement for college. So those were all multiple, because it wasn't just a one class thing. These were all like classes that went over like maybe a month, and then the French class was over the semester. So,
Well, I know personally, so I'm going to bring this up, that you also played the harp.
oh yes,
Tell us a little bit about that.
I, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have played harp, or I played harp. I started playing harp when I was 9, because my mom went to a homeschool, a homeschool conference in Virginia, and she saw that there was a harp uh, table, and she was interested in it, and she came home, and she was like, "Hey guys, you want to play harp?" And I was like, "No," and she was like, "I don't care." And so originally, me and my brother were playing, and then he was like, "This is not for me," um, and I continued to play until the beginning of this year, until I went to college. Um, yeah, I did a lot of like volunteer work at libraries and nursing homes playing, and then I had a couple paid gigs. I actually had a good amount of paid gigs, and then I also was in the New Jersey Youth Symphony in my junior to senior year of high school. Um, and it was great because I was the only harpist and people loved me. It was
Oh,
wonderful.
wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm glad I asked you about that because I was waiting for you to bring it up. You didn't, so I'm like, I have to ask. Well, and I was
Um,
gonna say, like, what unique experience did you have? Instead, I'm like, let me remind her about the harp.
oh my, I cannot believe I let that slip my mind.
Shh, we won't tell your mom. So, you talked a little bit about, using those gifts and talents and volunteering as well, with the harp. Are there other volunteer opportunities that you had?
Well, with my job, we had to have 60 hours of pay or 60 hours of community service before we could get paid. So I would help with the family programs on Saturdays. I would help with their community days. I would help with their teen nights. Anything they wanted me to do, I'd basically do it because I was trying to get those 60 hours down.
That's a
um,
good incentive.
but a lot of my community service came from my job. And then also, my mom would have us do things occasionally with our church. We would have like the lunch bag giveaways to the community. We would have clothing drives and things of that nature. So that's another volunteer experience that I had.
So you mentioned your job, so you were employed. Tell us a little bit about, when you started and what you did.
Okay, well, I worked at the New York Museum of Art from the beginning of my junior year to the end of my senior year. I was in the Explorer program, which is a career and life readiness program. So they gave us internships, paid internships, which were wonderful.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but they gave us internships. They gave us uh, what is the word? College trips.
Mm.
They gave us field trips. We would go to different museums, and then, like I said, with my job, they would also give us classes with SAT prep and uh, financial literacy and things of that nature. And one time, my sister came in and talked to us. That was great. So yeah, that was our job. And then with my internships, I worked in the curatorial department, and I helped the lead curator of the Seeing America Gallery. And then I also was in the finance department. And then I was also in family programs, and I helped them plan events. I helped them set up for the events for family programs. And then I also did a lot of paperwork. That was great.
So you
Um,
got a nice overview of the different opportunities there. Excellent, excellent. So, next question. Did you participate in a homeschool graduation? And
I
did you have
did,
a yearbook?
I did participate in a homeschool graduation, and I do have a yearbook. Yes,
Yay.
I do have a yearbook.
So what was that like?
The graduation was actually pretty great. There wasn't a lot to it. It was pretty much a normal graduation. We had a senior prom. That I didn't go to it, but I know that there was one. Um,
And so did you do that with your co-op or another group? Who did you do your graduation with?
we did our graduation with NJHSA. Please don't ask me what it stands for. I don't know. Wait, is it New Jersey Homeschool Association?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Maybe
It
that's what
is.
it is.
Um, but we did our graduation through NJHSA. That is the same uh, graduation that I believe my sister did.
Okay.
But we got to graduate with some of the people in our co-op, which was really great. And it was, like I said, to me, it was a normal graduation.
Wonderful.
I loved it. It was a great moment for me
Yay.
because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to experience a graduation. So
Hmm.
I'm very happy that I got that chance.
Wonderful. So, what are you doing now? I know we mentioned it that you're a little bit earlier about that you're away at school. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I am in High Point, North Carolina, at High Point University. As of right now, my I am undeclared as my major, but I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. Um, but I love it here. It's great. Yeah, I don't know how
Wonderful.
else to
No,
say it.
that's good. That's good. Wonderful. I mean, we're interviewing former homeschoolers in a lot of different stages of their life. So I think you're our first that has just recently graduated. So that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that you're moving forward. You're experiencing your first year. That's what some of our viewers want to know. They want the details. Um, can you share with us what myths that you want to dispel about homeschooling?
One thing that I hate hearing about homeschoolers is that homeschoolers don't know how to socialize. Okay.
Mm,
I hate hearing that from people
yeah.
because it genuinely like hurts my soul. Like I know there are homeschoolers out there that don't make it a priority for
Mhm.
socializing, but for a lot of the homeschoolers that I know, socializing is a big deal. Um, and like we don't just sit in the house all day. Like
Nope.
we don't just sit in the house all day and do nothing. Like my mom And a lot of other homeschool moms make it a big priority for their children to be in extracurriculars. Um, and that was a big deal for my mom. I don't know if you want me to talk about our extracurriculars right now, but
You can tell
we
us a few. I mean, that would be
okay.
wonderful.
Well, I did gymnastics, field hockey, figure skating, acting, music. I was in the church choral group. I worked, I did my co-op. I was very active in my church teens group. Um, I'm sure I'm missing something.
Did you do choir? I think you did choir too.
I choir? Did I say the choral group? Oh
Oh,
no.
maybe you did.
Um, and it's just we did a lot of extracurriculars, and then just going to the different homeschool days at different libraries, and then harp was another big social thing for me because my teacher worked at a school, and so sometimes I would go to her school and play with her students. Um, so that's one of the biggest myths I want to squash about homeschooling. Okay, we're social.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I know this is far off, but and if you have a family, would you consider homeschooling?
In a perfect world, I would be a homeschool mom. In actuality, I don't think I have the patience that my mom has. Just seeing how I interact with children right now, like I love kids, but I do not think I could sit and teach them. I do not have the patience. At the last library day I was trying to teach some of the younger kids how to play harp. And that was one of the most daunting tasks I have ever done in my life. Um, and so in a perfect world, I would love to homeschool my children, just because of the experiences I had. But I don't think I could. I don't think I could.
Well, I want to add, I was at that library day and you did an excellent job. The kids were engaged. You showed a lot of grace and patience. They were like all over the harp, but you took your time and you showed them, and it was great. And the parents, they loved it. So you did an excellent job. Well, wonderful. I know you said you didn't declare yet, but is there anything that you're thinking about yet in terms of what you would like to do?
Okay, so in the beginning of the semester, ooh, words. The beginning of the semester, my major was psychology. Um, and I changed it because I was like, oh, maybe psychology isn't for me. But now that I'd had time for um to meditate on it during winter break, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back to psychology. Um, and I do when I graduate college, I want to be a clinical psychologist. Um,
Mm.
wait, I don't want to be a wait, yes, I do want to be a clinical psychologist. I'm sorry. I get confused with the psychologist and the psychiatrist. I want to be a clinical psychologist one day. And so in order to do that, I have to do psychology, of course. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back to psychology. But right now I'm just trying to still just figure out if I have any other interest outside of psychology.
Thank you. So, is there anything else that you want to add or tell, you know, those that will be viewing this about homeschooling, or encourage them about homeschooling? Anything you'd like to
Um, I don't know.
add?
Well, as a homeschool kid myself, I mean, just don't be scared of it. I don't know. I know a lot of people have a lot of like preset things about homeschoolers in
Mhm.
their head. And just because your kid is homeschooled doesn't mean that they're getting any less of an education. I promise you will be okay. Um, you will be okay, your child will be okay, and I am living proof that they will be okay. They will be
Wonderful.
okay. You're not lacking anything. Like just because your child is not in school doesn't mean that they're missing anything. And honestly, I feel that they're gaining more because I
Mm.
have such a close relationship with my mother and my brother. I like those are my two people because I spent so much time with them, you know, and you as a parent, like you'll live once your kid is in college, like you'll really cherish those moments you had with them because you spent so much time with them and you really got to know your child, not just for a couple of hours, because then you're sending them off to school, but every day, you know? And I think relationships can really benefit from that, like family relationships.
Mm, that's good. That's good. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Evelyn. This is Homeschool Informational Services, where we individualize lifelong learning. We're so happy that you were with us today, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.